Alright, so you ask any bass guitarist,
Hey, can you play me something?
what are the odds that they play Hysteria by Muse? This is one of the most popular bass lines of all time. But does that mean it makes it one of the greatest? So get ready and let's break this down. Believe it or not, this song is 20 years old now, coming out in 2003 on the album Absolution. The beastly bass playing was by none other than Chris Wolstenholme. We're going to talk about why he's so awesome. Tons of Muse songs have great bass lines. Hysteria tends to be the one that everyone thinks about, but within their discography, there is so many other great bass lines. So I'm on Bass Freedom, which is my website for bass guitar lessons. On there, you can request these breakdowns. Check it out, and thanks here to Justin for recommending Hysteria. So it looks like we got a live version of the Mayan 2015 concert. I have no clue what tour this was, but let's jump into it. I'm gonna play it. Let's listen through like the first chorus, and I will start playing along with it as well. Let's go. And the crowd goes nuts. Muse is so good live. Yeah. That is a lot of sound for a trio. All right, let's break it down. That is a beast to play for sure. Takes some endurance, and let's jump into it. So clearly that main riff is the one we got to talk about. There's a couple really cool factors that makes it more digestible if you're trying to play it too. So the first thing before I jump into any of the playing is Chris Wolstenholme's tone. He may have the best tone of any bassist I've ever heard. It's massive. You gotta owe it to his status bass with the cool LED lights and his fresh strings and his distortion pedal. I think he uses a Big Muff EHX. I'm not sure, but if you're gonna replicate this, just throw in some distortion. I have my Dark Ray Music Man bass, which is a Music Man infused with dark glass electronics. I have distortion built in here. I don't have any pedals or anything. I'm not gonna sound like Chris, but I'm gonna get the distortion feel, which is gonna at least give us the Hysteria vibe. So now that we've praised his tone and we got ours set up, let's talk about the notes. We're in the key of A minor here, and the bass line has no rhythmic breaks. It's all 16th notes. 16th notes are a rhythmic subdivision. If you're just counting your 4-note quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're gonna fit 4 notes into each quarter note. It's often counted as 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. While the notes are obviously changing, the rhythm does not. So recognize that there's no break in this. And since there's no break, what does that make this? Really freaking hard to play because it takes so much endurance. It's a 3-minute something song and he hardly ever stops. It's gonna take some time if you're playing this to get up to that speed. Find your threshold of how fast you can play it and slowly inch it up. So we're in A minor, and there's a cool thing that Muse always tends to do. They tend to play the open string of their instruments and then play a lot of the notes within the key. So for example, I'm going to turn my distortion off, and if you hear me play the A minor scale on the same string, just watch what I'll do. I'm going to play the open string between those fretted notes within the key. You get that Hysteria vibe. This is definitely common in the metal world, but it's a staple of Muse. They always play this open string crawl, that back and forth motion with fretted notes and open string notes within the key, and I can think of like 5 of their songs on the top of my head already which does that. It's kind of fun because if you pick random notes within the key and you kind of just go back and forth with the open string, you could come up with some cool riffs. So let's break down the riff even more and learn it. We'll break down each part in sections. Let's look at the first part. The next part, when it goes to E, is where it gets a little more difficult because now we're covering 2 strings. If you're enjoying this breakdown, please give the video a like. It goes a long way as I'm trying to grow the channel. Now we'll look at the final pattern of the main riff, and this is where it goes to the D string. Here it has a descending chromatic type of pattern. I'll explain that in a second. Descending chromatic means note by note, and where I think this makes it easier to play is the fingering. I like to use the first and second finger as I descend. Could you use the forefinger? Sure. That takes a lot of dexterity. Make it easier on yourself. Speaking of patterns, every phrase here from A minor to E to D minor, and then back to A minor to end it, it all starts the same way. Check it out. You can use things like that to help make you memorize it more. And as I said, it's really consistent with rhythm. So once you know A minor, you know no rhythmic break, you know a couple of the tricks within here, it's more digestible. The hardest part, again, is getting the speed up there. Inch your way up. All right, so now let's get into the chorus. It does this cool little transitional riff. And you can tell it's another descending one, but now this gets us to the chorus. The chorus shifts us to some new chords. We have C major, which is the relative major of A minor. But the rhythm is still pretty consistent, but it's not straight 16th notes anymore. Let's take a listen first. I have the isolated track on here. I didn't pull up the isolated track for the other parts because this song starts with bass. So technically, you heard it isolated, and it plays the same thing up to here. But now that we have it isolated in the chorus, you'll be able to hear it a lot better. Same freaking rhythmic pattern all the way through. It's not 16th notes anymore, but it has the same rhythm. If you could get the same rhythm for the first measure over C, you're going to be able to do it over the other ones. Check this out. There's a couple nuances in there, but it's the same rhythmic pattern, and it's even the same bass line approach. Hell yeah. So what that means is if we can take this first measure, this C major measure, and we look at what's happening here, we have it playing the root hammered onto the octave from the flat 7, the minor 7th. If I'm speaking gibberish to you, check out the tab here. We have our root note hammered on into the octave. This flat 7th is 2 frets away. You're gonna do that on every freaking chord. What makes that difficult, of course, is the string skipping. Playing octaves is not easy, and at this speed, as I said before, you're gonna have to inch your way there. But the good news is there's a pattern both rhythmically and on the bass. So between the verse and the chorus, which makes up like 90% of the song, there's a lot that makes it absorbable, memorable. Obviously, playing it will take time, but we're getting it to a point where you might be like, I got this. I can tackle this. So there's some other parts to this tune. There's an awesome bridge, which leads into the guitar solo and that outro. There's some transitional parts too. Check out the bridge. I can't help myself. It's hard not to play with it. The bridge there, if we listen, is actually the same thing as that D minor measure. We're just going to do it in E. So if you take the D here, we're going to do it in E, and we're just going to loop it. That's how the song ends. That's during the awesome guitar solo, and it's mirrored. It does the same thing. Yet again, we've taken a new part and we're finding a way to make it more absorbable. The guitar solo goes all the way through the verse and the chorus, but that's it. If I could sum it up for you, we've got 16th notes, a never-ending and never-stopping bass line with massive tone, which is covering a lot of the frets within the key with open strings. That's what Hysteria is. It's genius. It's a lot of sound, as I said, for 3 people. Chris Wolstenholme does not get enough credit. I love him. This band is amazing. Thanks again to Justin for recommending this. Great freaking recommendation. Hysteria is awesome. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of bassists are trying to learn it. And hopefully today you took a little bit out of what makes it so great. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I got other breakdowns on the channel if you haven't seen it. And if you are on Bass Freedom, you can recommend the next one you want to see me do. This is a lot of fun, so let's keep it going, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!